This is our 1-year anniversary. We started, what was it, Mark? Around the 1st of June last year?
June 3rd.
June 3rd, so we are really excited. We have a speaker today from Colton, South Dakota. She spoke at a women's conference we did yesterday. We're really excited about that. Before you've got some announcements. You've got a coupon from her company she's going to tell you about. Up on here on the table, we've got some swag we'll give you at the end. But I have been gone for 6 months. I've been home creating a new company. It's going to be Designer Slings. But I am working on it. If that doesn't work out, then I'm thinking about trying to create something you can fix your hair with one hand. Either way, I'm learning from this, and it's all going to be great. I'm going to let Laura tell you all about herself. I can give you a brief introduction. I will tell you you're going to wonder, because I know it's going to be asked, she is 28 years old. She is young, she is beautiful, and she has got a thriving business that she's going to tell us all about. Her business is Flair.
Thank you guys so much. Well, good morning. Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. As Ruhan said, you all have a coupon, so make sure you go check out the website and see if there's anything that tickles your fancy. My name is Laura Benson. I am 28 years old. As Ruhan said, I was born and raised on a dairy farm. So fashion definitely was not originally in the cards for me. I had no desire to be in that sector at all. I was a tomboy. Grew up, born and raised on a farm. I currently am married to a farmer, cowboy. That way of life will always be a huge part of my story and my life. I currently have a child who is almost 1 year old. I can't believe how fast time goes. And a crazy train of a company. So I started Flair 5.5 years ago. And kind of started with an idea. I was doing a lot of rodeoing. If you don't know what that is, it's where I did was barrel racing, go around the barrels, and I've never been to a rodeo. And it's kind of an expensive hobby. And so I just thought, gosh, what are some ways I could make some money on the side? And at the time, the blingy belts and purses were just getting really big and in. And I thought, well, I could sell some of those to my friends, make a little money, and pay for some of my fees and my gas at these rodeos. So it actually kind of started there. It started very Western, hence the name. Philly is a young horse. I'm not from Philadelphia. I've heard that before.
We're from Kentucky. Yeah, we know.
Okay, yes, this is true. Okay, sorry, I forgot where I'm at, I guess. So anyway, that's where the name came from. I immediately set up a website. I think I just knew that was the smartest decision I could make. So before I even told my friends, when I told my friends I had business cards and they could already go to a website. I started with literally about 110 bucks. And in my basement, did a ton of research, found where I wanted to buy a few things from, bought those things, put them on the website, and started hauling them to rodeos and handing out my card to everyone. And within, I don't remember, a month, somewhere around there, and I had a lady from Kansas purchase something off my website. So to me, that was a really pivotal moment of just knowing that this could be really big. I was in a tiny, tiny town in South Dakota and had done no advertising really, and this lady found me. So that was kind of the eye-opener for me to know that this could really be something big and change my future. Fast forward, so I did that for about 2 years. It was all on the side. I was working 12-hour shifts easily at the farm and shipping orders out of my basement till midnight as a 22-year-old while my friends were out partying, going, someday this is going to pay off. So thankfully it has so far. And I got engaged in 2012 and probably actually took about a 6 to 8 month kind of leap of absence from Flair. It got too big and I was still farming full-time with my family and just didn't really know where my life was going. I was just kind of in a, okay, this is making me good money, but I love farming and I was so in la la land of planning a wedding and moving, so I couldn't do it well. And I knew I didn't want to hinder the reputation of the company. I didn't want people to get a bad rep for it or a bad feel for it. So I kind of just shut it down for about 6-7 months, I think. After I got married in September, yesterday I said November, and I meant to say I opened a storefront in November. I opened my first storefront. It was very small. We have a very small town. And by April of the following year, I had my first full-time employee. We were open 6 days a week. And from that April to the next April, we moved 3 times because I outgrew the facility. We just kept growing so fast and added, I think, 4 more employees. So that was a crazy year of growth. And then in August of last year, we took another huge leap. Actually closed the storefront part down because we needed the warehouse space. So online was so huge for us. As much as I wanted for people to come in and shop, we were making the majority of our money online. So we needed to cater to our online customers, and that's where the growth really was for me at the time. So we moved to a 7,000 foot warehouse, built some really industrial rack systems, added skewing, barcoding, just really took my business from, it was a really pivotal year of growth, and I had a baby that summer. It was a crazy summer last year, but it was a really pivotal year of growth for me. It personally and for my business, it was when I realized, okay, I made a lot of money last year, but how do I sustain this? How do I make this for the long term, not just a fly-by-night? Wow, that was a great couple years. So it took a lot of help. I think that was probably really important for me, and some advice I could heed is don't be afraid to ask for help. Reach out to people that know what they're doing better than you do, and you'll get there. You'll get where you need to be a lot quicker, I guess. I hired a company. They kind of help manage business and make things more efficiently, and that probably they helped me get things done, like installing barcoding systems, creating a skewing program, those type of things for a couple months. And that speeded up things I would have not gotten done for months. We got done in several months. So it was a really pivotal summer last year, and now we currently have 22 employees. Our warehouse is very full. I'm not sure where we're going to go in another year or 2. Hopefully we need to build something. This spring, we actually launched the western part of the website on its own website, its own warehouse. It kind of got lost. So I really wanted to stay true to having that side. So there is still a tiny western side, and then the main source of Philly Flair is all fashion. So that is where we're currently at. I would love to, I guess, kind of do a Q&A from here.
Okay, questions?
I don't have a question or observation. It's kind of interesting to see how that all, I hate the word morph, but moved from your original vision to where you are today.
Yeah, and I have a lot of people ask me, did you ever envision it would be this? No, I don't think you can ever see what it would be, but I knew I had the vision of knowing it could be something really big. And I think that's something that really stuck with me. And a lot of people say, how did you do that? Or a lot of people come to me and say, I want to start my own boutique and do these things. And the best piece of advice I can give is you have to be willing to give it 220%. Like, you have to work harder than anyone else you've ever met in your life. So if you're willing to do that, you can, in any business, does not just the boutique world, you can do great things, but you've got to be willing. Those first, if you don't have, especially if you don't have the money, the collateral. I had no money, so for me it was all about work. The first 3 years, I put every dime back into the business. I never paid myself. I worked 12 hours at another job. So yeah, it was.
What's your demographic?
We really try and demographic to about 25 to 35-year-olds, but we have across the board. I have 6-year-olds that buy our stuff all the time, which is awesome. So.
Sharon.
Yesterday, I brought 2 of my employees to hear you, and they were super impressed. Of course, they're young people about your age, or, well, actually, they're younger, but one of the questions that they asked me, where did she find her markets? Where do you go? Or, because I go to Atlanta to shop for my store, but I'm sure you don't shop at that type of market.
Yeah, so I started at markets, and I still actually go to Vegas every year for market, which is just like Atlanta. I've never been to Atlanta. It's the same thing. So I started there. I did go to some markets, and through those markets, I got to know the people that actually create those clothes. And as you grow, when you get to a certain volume, they want to work with you directly.
Okay.
So,
Mark?
You said a couple of times, I live in this really little town. We think of Madisonville as a fairly small town. How big is it? And the corollary to that is what challenges, when someone's launching a business that's going to be web-based, what challenges do you see being in a really small community versus being in a large city?
so this is terrible. I don't know the actual population. I want to say like 1,000 people maybe. I've only lived there 3 years since I've been married.
We're the biggest city.
Yes, Madisonville is much bigger than the town I actually grew up in and the town I currently live in. So the reason and I get this question a lot because we live about 30 minutes from Sioux Falls, which is a town of about 300,000 people. It's the biggest city in South Dakota. So a lot of people ask me, why aren't you there? Why don't you have a store there? When I started, I had no money. And so for me, the internet was easy. I literally bought a domain name for 20 bucks and found a free website platform. It was bad, but it worked. Like the first website platform I had, people had to put their size in the comments when they checked out. So if they forgot to do that, I was like trying to call them and figure out what size they wanted. So, but it worked. It got me started somehow. I think over the course of the past 3 years, I've changed website platforms like 5 times just with that. But anyway, so I used the resources that were available to me. And the reason I wanted to stay in a small town, I love being married to a farmer. I love the lifestyle. And to me, I work crazy hours, but being able to be flexible, if you are not a well-rounded individual, if I don't have time for my family, if I don't have time for my health, I don't have time to enjoy being on the farm, what is the point? Who cares how much money you make if you don't have a full circle? You are not a complete individual if you have $1 million company, but the rest of your life is horrible. So it was really important to me to be able to stay close to my family and my husband. And so that's why I started in a small town. Overhead was super cheap. I could rent like a 3,000 foot building for like $1,000 a month. So my overhead was super cheap. So I could provide better prices to my customers. And honestly, it was really awesome to be able to provide opportunities for people in a small community that normally we're driving 25 to 30 minutes to Sioux Falls, our big town, to get jobs. So that's been something that I've been most proud of, especially recently as we've added so much staff, is being able to have a lot of our staff is from the neighboring small towns, so I don't have to drive to Sioux Falls. I'm not opposed to opening a store in Sioux Falls someday, but like overhead and everything is so much more expensive. And the biggest benefit of that, I would say there's no benefit of being in a small town online because the world is your audience. So to me, it's almost crazy to have a boutique and not be online. Like that I cannot fathom that. It's a lot of work to get set up and everything, but the fact that you can reach anyone, even if you don't do marketing, if they find you somehow, I know there's a lot out there, but there's billions of people out there. So that's the biggest advantage is having an online store. You can be anywhere. You can be located anywhere. If I wanted to up and move, I could still have my business.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still barrel race?
Well, I will probably again next summer. I have almost a 1-year-old. So last summer I had a baby in June, so my whole summer was shot. And this year I've been riding some, but it's a little much with the baby. So.
At least you can afford it now.
Yes.
Is there anything when you look back that you wish you would have done differently, or you think, oh my gosh, if we would have done this in the beginning, things would be so much easier? Or
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hindsight is definitely 2020. I wish I would have been more mature. I wish I would have been. I was a really hard worker, but there were things I could have done better in my business with employees. I had no business background, so I did not have resources or any knowledge of good employee programs and customer service programs. So I'm sure there's been lost customers in there as I didn't have good systems set up. Yes, and probably the biggest thing for me, coming from no money, it was really hard for me to add people or things that I considered an expense, but looking back could have grown my business so much faster. So like when I would add a new employee, it was to the point I should have been adding 3. Like I should have had that employee 4 months ago. It was like always playing catch up. You know, it was like retroactive instead of being proactive. And so it's a fine line of knowing when you add staff or expenses that could profit your business. But now I can see that I'm getting a lot better about when I want to add staff for especially like social media purposes or sales-driven reasons to help grow my business. That sometimes it's better to be proactive about that versus wait till you're so big and then add the staff later. I could have grown my company a lot quicker, I feel like, even though it did grow really quickly, but yeah. Yes?
What do you see on your social media side, your return? I mean, I'm assuming you have hired somebody to work just your social media side for your marketing. What do you see as your return from that employee?
As my return for what?
For that employee, you hired that employee to do that side of your marketing for social media. What type of return do you see that you're receiving from that staff?
Well, social media is huge on so many levels. To have your name across a ton of platforms is really important. I feel like sometimes it's hard with social media because you can't necessarily gauge a lot of sales, but it's keeping that customer interaction that I feel is really important. So I have a gal, as crazy as it sounds, I actually still help run a lot of our social media because to me that's my image, that's my face, and that's the most important thing. I have one gal that helps me do a lot of posting on Facebook, Instagram. I just hired a gal, she starts next week to run Twitter. So a lot of these things you can't gauge off of sales, it has to be off of growth. So like as my girl comes in, she's part-time, I'm contracting her out. When she comes in to run Twitter, it's going to be, we're gonna set her up and say, okay, right now we have 500,000 or 5,000 followers on Twitter. I want gauges at the end of the month. How many people have you got to follow us? How many people have you got to retweet or interact? Things like that. So it's about engaging with your customers. That's the biggest return, I think, on social media. Did that answer your question? Okay.
I have another question. What is your end game? Where do you plan to go with this, and at what point? I mean, do you have some idea that this could grow to the point where someone else might buy your business? What are your thoughts about getting out? Because for some of us right now, we're ready to get out, and we didn't start planning that when we should have, which is when we began. So, what's...
As of right now, no. I have no desire to sell my business. I think the only thing I would even remotely be open to at this point is a very small, like a big company investment, just for the knowledge base that they would have. That is the only reason I would ever allow someone to come in and buy part of my business. When I get to the point when I'm ready to get out, just in the past year, I've realized that it has to be able to run itself. That's how people want to buy a business. So if it can officially run itself, that's when you know you have a business that you can sell. And so, like I have meetings once a month with my accounting team, and so then they gauge based off our inventory and sales volume, where is the business at, what is it currently worth. So like we have those stats all the time, and I think if you have a business that can help run itself, and you have things in place with your employees, with your team, that it's kind of a machine, it's a lot easier probably to sell. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a member of the chamber in Evansville and spent a lot of time here in Madisonville. And one of the things that we kind of reach out and teach is give back, especially for kind of new startups to get the name going. You mentioned over your social media how many platforms you can kind of get your name out. And I'm just wondering how you also were real proud of being able to employ some in-town people, which really helped that. I just wondered, do you ever have any other ideas about give backs, or do you work with that in your community? Or?
Yeah, so last year, at the end of the year, was the first time I really was wanting to do something different besides just donating to a local charity or church. So we did 2 big things. We donated a ton of inventory, over $10,000 worth of inventory to Dress for Success. So which was really fun. I don't know if you don't know what that is. It's a program where women come in and get jobs, and then they get an outfit, and then if they get the job, they get an outfit for a whole week. So it's really cool, again. And then at the end of the year, last year, over Christmas, I actually got involved. We had our TV station come out, and I allowed people to set up a little mock website page where people could nominate people that they felt were deserving. And I gave 5 women like a full day out, so they got to come shop at the warehouse, get like for free. Did like hair and makeup, sent them home with like gift cards for their family and stuff like that. But it was really cool. So the reasons we did pick, like we handpicked, we had over 200 people that nominated people, that nominated women for this award for whatever reason. If they had cancer, lost babies, like just women that were really deserving and needed a break from regular life. I'm hoping to do something even bigger this year, and it's something I just had a chat with my manager about a couple weeks ago. Okay, we need to start planning this now for the end of the year. So that's something I really want to work into more is giving back.
So great to hear you say those things. 'Cause I think a lot of, I know many very successful entrepreneurs have really done well with, you know, that kind of activity. Really get your name out in the right place and shows you what your real heart is. So.
Well, and honestly, it had nothing to do with getting the name out. The TV station was a fluke. I did not contact them.
Cool.
They found us, they heard we were doing it and wanted to jump on board. I said this yesterday, and I don't mean to say this in an egotistical way at all, but I've had no money, and now that I have money, I feel no different as a person. It doesn't change who you are, how you look at the world, and so it's the things you do with that. I really believe that whatever God has given me, it's my job to help others in whatever way that looks like. And so, and not only inspiring people, but giving back to people that don't have as much. So that's part of the job. And who I want to be as a person. It's more than about just the business. So.
Cool.
Yes.
Talking about money, but from the business model, financial perspective, you started your business with very little. You've had a lot of growth. Talk to us, if you will, a little about how that came, where the investment dollars came from to be able to grow your business. Was it totally organic, internal growth, or did you set up some banking relationships of one kind or another?
So to this day, I do not have any loans on my business, which I'm very proud of. I'm married to a farmer who is the exact opposite. So I have so much debt, loans on that side, like that's a whole other world. So it's crazy to be like they're so opposite ends of the spectrum. But when I started it, that was a really big thing to me to be able to. I'm very thankful that I could do that. I could work, and I was at a point in my life I did not have children. I did not have other financial responsibilities. I had taken care of my debt as a kid. I had a couple of years where I was very not mature with my money, but I figured that out really quickly that was dumb, and so I didn't have a lot of bills. So once I got that ball rolling, it was really easy to just, like I said, I worked for that for 3 years. I never put a penny. I never paid myself a penny. I just kept putting it back in the business. I will say I am very thankful that for whatever, I was talking to my mom about this last night. This is more than me. This is God's plan, because the fact that I got on like the Facebook crazy train before it was a crazy train is very partially huge to my success. I will be very honest with that. Until a year ago, I did not spend a dime on advertising anywhere. So just last probably March is when I started talking to companies and advertising on Facebook. That game has changed completely. The algorithms all changed as of January 1st again. It's harder to reach people. That's fine, that's their business. They can do whatever they want with that. So you have to decide if you want to play that game and how to be smart with that. So the marketing dollars has been a hard one for me because I got so many sales and so many customers free that it took me a while to get used to the idea that it's okay to spend money on marketing. And I've learned, they even say like your first sale basically should pay for the advertising dollar. And the returning customer, the next sale is where you start making money. So the ultimate goal is to make your customers really happy, whatever your business is, to have them keep coming back. Yes?
How much time do you actually get to spend on the farm versus in your business?
That varies so much. It's whenever I make the time. So an average day for me, usually up by like 6, I feed my baby, she goes back to bed, and I have usually an hour by myself. Like it's very quiet, I go out, sit out, especially when it's summer, I go sit out on my porch, have my breakfast by myself, try to not look at my phone, and try to make a very conscious effort of that. I feel like it's very important to have time away from those things. If you can't put it down, if you can't get off the computer, if you can't put the phone down, you're only hindering yourself, and you're not living your life to the fullest if you can't get away from that. So I really try and have boundaries with that. I go to work every day, Monday to Friday for sure. Like at some point, I think it's really important that my staff sees me. Even if I can work from home, I think it's important for them to just know that I'm still there, I care. I mean, I talk to my managers every day, but the actual shippers, so they know that I'm in the building, I think it's really important, even if I'm there an hour. So I do that every day. I spend a lot of time with my husband in the mornings on the farm, and it just depends on the daily activities. So in now, they've been chopping a lot of hay, so in the evenings we'll go ride with them. If there's a big project, if they're moving cows out to pasture, I might take the day off, or I get up at 5, get the stuff I need to get done by 7, and then go spend half the day with him. So the nice thing about owning your business, if you're dedicated enough, is you can make your hours flexible. You know, I can work till midnight, and then I can spend the next day, because I can get the emails wrote that I need to get wrote, help posting, edit photos, whatever that looks like. I still take all the pictures, which is really important to me. So I have photo shoots about 2 days a week, so I kind of have to plan around those. But other than that, my schedule can be really flexible. Yes?
Are you a manufacturer at all, or are you primarily reselling?
Both. We do both.
Okay.
Yep. Probably 50-50 right now.
Okay, because I was with 22 people, is what you said. It seemed like, well, if all you're doing is reselling, that seems like an awful lot of people. They're just.
Well, my people do not manufacture anything.
Oh, okay.
I hire that all out. I work with, well, I guess personally, I don't personally manufacture anything. I work with the manufacturers, and they manufacture things for me.
Okay.
The people in my office, so I have 2 people that answer phones all day, and they ring off the hook. I have we just kind of split, we just kind of hit the growth stage of, I have a manager that manages, she's my overall manager, but she mainly manages like the creative side. So there's like kind of 2 beasts. One helps make all the orders happen, and the other gets the orders out. So, and then the customer service is in between. So there's, besides the 2 customer service girls, I have 5 that help make the orders happen, whatever that looks like. And then the rest are all, there's a warehouse manager, and the rest are just, it's all shipping. So
It sounds like you've got it together as far as the question was asked, how are you going to get out of this business? Getting into business is easy. It's the getting out the part that's hard. And it sounds like you've achieved a size where that's doable. So many businesses never grow beyond the sole proprietor, and if you take that person out of the garage, the cars don't get worked on, and the business stops. So you've got nothing to sell without the proprietor.
yes.
And unless you get beyond that, you're going to work until you die.
Yes,
But
I agree.
it sounds like you've got that put together, and if you can get it to the point where, and still enjoy it, and when it gets down to the point where you don't enjoy it, it's time to let somebody else play with it.
Yeah, probably a year ago, I had no concept of that whatsoever. And when I had this company come in that helps with business efficiency, they taught me so much about that. Like, Laura, that's great that you have this big company, but what if you get sick for 6 months? What if something happens to you? Like everything shuts down. So I really had to reevaluate how I did my business, at least at the size we were at. I mean, if you would have asked me this 3 years ago, I would have been like, that's not even obtainable. You know, so it's learning to be okay with the growth and change as it comes. And it was a hard concept for me to understand, but yes, I definitely understand it now. It's not quite to the point of me stepping out of it, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
And I'm still working for that. Yes.
What advice can you give to someone that has a fairly new business and they do have, like let's say a Facebook page, they have a website, but they're not getting a lot of traffic to their website, and most of the business that they're getting is word of mouth, you know, so it's not really growing like they wanted to. what advice would you give them? Because I know, like you said, you come from a small town. Madisonville is fairly small, and it's probably a lot of word of mouth maybe in the beginning. So what can you give to someone who's trying to grow a business but is stuck and doesn't know where to go from there?
I'm still very pro grassroots. So I love the idea of, if I had to start a business over today, I would set up a website, I would set up every social media page possible. Twitter, Instagram, I'd start using hashtags like crazy so people could search by those terms. And I would just be out telling every person on the face of the sun. I would put flyers up in gas stations, crazy. I would go to vendor fairs, and then when I got to the point where any income that I could set aside, I would start putting towards advertising, marketing, however you want to do that. If you want to spend dollars on Facebook, if you want to put newspaper ads or radio ads, whatever that looks like. As soon as you can afford that, you need to do some of that. But I'm a peddler. So I'm all about let's get this going and just beat it, however it needs to be. Tell every person on the face of the earth, hand out business cards, give out coupons to people on the streets, whatever. Yes.
And I wondered this yesterday, or I wondered it for a couple of weeks now that I've been hearing about you, and I guess maybe I'm not the only one, so even though this is sort of a behind the scenes question, Ruth Ann might be able to help with this too. How did we luck out to get you to come to Madisonville, Kentucky? Because obviously, you're from way far away on the other side, so how did this all happen?
I will touch on this. It is crazy. Sometimes you should do things that you normally wouldn't do. So last fall, a couple of my girls in the office were like, we should start a blog. And I hate writing. Actually had a YouTube page in my past life. And I love blogging. I love videos. I'm a very visual person, but I hate writing. And so the idea of blogging was I hate it. And they were like, well, let's just do one here and there. And for whatever reason, I was like, if we're gonna start a blog, I at least need to write the first post. It needs to be from the owner, from me. And I wrote it on the 10 things I learned, top 10 things I learned in 2014. And Ruth Ann, who's relation to me, read that. And that's when she...
There were so many things on her list of things she learned. I thought, I knew, of course, I knew Laura. I knew she'd been in business. I knew her business was growing and successful. But it wasn't until I saw that list that I thought, this is growth. This is experience happening right here from a young person and a young business. A couple of things I thought were really interesting on the list. She put that she did a photo shoot while contractions were 10 minutes apart. I thought, okay, she shows commitment.
I had that for 5 days, so at some point it was I might as well try and do something, but yes, I really did.
But there were several things on there. You also touched on something on that list about it being hard to, or just because you know someone and you like them, they may not be perfect for your business, and then you've had to fire someone and
there's really touchy relationships being in small towns. How do you hire friends? Do you work with family? I grew up in a corporation where my dad and his brother worked together. I know it can work out. I don't know if I would ever work with family, but I have hired some of my friends, and if you have really close friends and you are really passionate about your business, it's probably not going to work very well at all, at least in my opinion. And on that note, I had a gal, I spoke on this yesterday, to this day, one of the hardest workers I've ever had work for me. We come from a really small town. She lived in this town. She worked for me for about a year, and as the business grew, so she helped me, she ran it. So she went from answering all the emails, shipping out my 20 to 50 packages a day, helping me get into inventory, to having to oversee 3 or 4 people doing this. And she did not have the skills. I did not have the skills to teach her. And she did not have the attitude or willingness to learn. So she was not a good manager. And it was 3 weeks before I was gonna have a baby. I'm sure I was crazy emotional anyway, but it was such a hard decision for me. I was so scared of hurting her because she had done so much for my business. And that was so hard for me, the blood, sweat, and tears she had put into it, to think am I really gonna have to let her go? And hurting her in that sense and in the community. So what people would think of me, am I the bad person because I fired this girl? And how that would affect her in our super small town. But ultimately, I prayed about it a lot. I talked to some mentors. I highly recommend, if you do not have coaches or mentors in your life, every person needs them. You cannot grow as an individual, by the way, if you don't have them. And I finally decided I had to fire her. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I did not say this yesterday. She actually just came back to work for me again. She's running my Western store by herself. It's not super big, so it's manageable for one person. If that, and like when I hired her, we went through, she reached out to me initially to start the process. But when I hired her, it was a very open conversation of, if things grow, you might not be fit for this position again. Like just knowing she might have to move aside or step down. So you can't be scared of business. So there are really scary things that you have to face. So confrontation is not always a bad thing in business. You have to be okay with it. And the more honest you are with your people, yourself, you're only going to help grow your business. I ultimately knew with that girl that she couldn't get me from here to here. And I needed, at that point, we were growing so fast, I needed a partner who was on the same brainwave I was, who was super positive, who knew how to work with people and inspire them. And she just didn't have those qualities. So, yeah.
Looking back, was there somewhere you could have put her, or did you all have that conversation, or was it just either or?
There wasn't. Especially, we had like four people working for us, so it was too small. I actually said that to Ruth Ann last night. There was a time in our business, I think we're at a pretty good spot now with this enough people. You can kind of all get away from each other a little bit, but we're all women, so there was 4 or 5 of them. And so to have your manager, all of a sudden, we talked about it, become a shipper again, and to work right beside you after there was so much tension. And I had to get rid of that tension somewhere in business. I just had to cut it out, because it was just making things go downhill fast. And if you don't have that attitude, the optimistic culture, or whatever you're trying to create in your business, it's gonna go negatively really quickly.
I hear that as an HR issue. Do you have a manual for your employees that know? Oh, great, okay.
Yes, that was one thing I learned really important last year too, is having a manual, especially hiring friends, people you kind of know, that, like, oh, I'll just let you take a day off whenever you need, and pretty soon that turns into they're running over you and those rules. As you grow, yeah, I'd highly recommend having things in paper or a sign, and just everyone wants, I don't want to say boundaries, but rules. Like everyone wants to know what's expected of them and what are they allowed to do. And it just makes business go a lot smoother all the way around with employees.
Have you had anyone that has worked for you and learned from you and everything go out on their own?
I have not. So far, I've only had a couple people ever quit on me, so I'm hoping to keep that rate
Are
pretty
you
low.
still the sole owner, or do you have any partnerships?
No, it's a corporation only for financial reasons with my husband farming, but no, just me.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm. Yes.
With you starting originally from like selling belts and things, to your friends, I noticed that you have like dresses and shoes and now bridesmaids. What was it that made you see, well, now instead of just doing the belts and that type of thing, expanding your inventory, going that far?
You really have to be open to what your customer is looking for. So it was a time period of when bling was just getting in for everyone, kind of. So like I was selling some blingy t-shirts and stuff as Western, and I noticed a lot of people were buying them that were not Western people. So probably within 6 months, I started selling a lot more fashion line. And it just gravitated towards that. I was offering such a good price point, and I think people couldn't find these items elsewhere, that it just kept growing. And so as much as I love the Western sector of it, if more people wanted that, more people wanted the fashion side, they wanted the dresses and the cute shirts, like I had no problem gearing towards that. You have to be open to change what your customer is wanting. Yeah.
So I'm really curious about the social media side, and this won't apply to everybody in here, but that was the genesis for how you grew, and you knew that initially. You just kind of dove in. What would you say to a business owner who's been in business for 20 years and social media is like a foreign language to them?
Hire a high school kid that knows what they're doing. I just hired an intern. She's just out of high school that's gonna run Snapchat for me because I've used it and I hate it. I want nothing to do with it. But they know more than I've only been out of high school 10 years and it's already changed so much. You need someone that knows the in. And in 10 years, all the high school kids right now want nothing to do with Facebook because all their parents are on it and everything. So in 10 years, it's going to be gone.
Well,
I mean, not gone, but.
That was my next question, is that this looks like, even even though you say 25 to 35, it looks like this would easily skew into high school up. So what media are you looking at as on the cusp of, like you said, Snapchat or Viber? Do you have people that are kind of monitoring that for you?
Personally, I don't know with my staff. I don't know if anyone knows what the next big thing is yet. We're just going to dive into all social media that we can, any aspects, and even Instagram. Like, there's another hindsight. I should have hit that train way earlier. I knew about it, but I was so busy as a one-man show on Facebook. If I would have hired someone to run my Instagram, I could be light years ahead in that world. Like, there's a perfect example.
Are you utilizing the new Twitter sales feature?
We will be. So I just hired. She starts next week. That she's like in her interview, she was teaching me stuff about Twitter, and I was like, okay.
Have your intern check out Social Coaster.
Yeah. Okay. We'll do. Social Coaster.
Yeah, it's a really cool.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Yes.
Yesterday, I pulled up notes, you talked about, I love this one part, about fear and lean into the pain. Can you kind of expand on that for this group? Because I know this is more of a business thing, but that was a very inspirational, I was like, yeah, I still get that.
So one of my favorite stories, I was at a business conference a couple months ago, and one of the speakers was talking about, first I should back up. I spoke on fear yesterday and being scared of things, and for me, it's crazy because it's gotten harder for me to not be scared of things as I've grown. When it was just me and I was single and living the good life, I didn't care. I could just spend all day and night doing it, but now I have a child to worry about and I have a staff that I care about. So every time I hire someone, it's more than just my life getting affected. It's all these other people that I'm bringing on board. And I have to, when I hire them, in my head, I'm saying, I'm going to provide a job for you as long as possible. So it's really important to me. But as that grows, that fear grows a little bit of okay, now I have this much more responsibility. And learning to be okay with that and getting comfortable with that. And I said this yesterday, and I fully believe it. If you are not uncomfortable in your business, then you are not growing your business. You are not stepping outside of those boundaries and pushing yourself and growing as an individual. If you're just in a happy little la-la land, you're not doing your business or yourself justice. So when I was at this conference, he was in the Army, and this big guy spoke on when his wife, when they decided to have a baby, she told him that she wanted to have a natural labor. So super important to her. So when she finally was time to have the baby, they went in, she'd been in labor 24 hours at a midwife clinic. And the midwife came in and said, after 24 hours, we have to send you to a hospital because you can't be here anymore. There could be something wrong with the baby. And they knew if they went to the hospital, it was probably going to be an emergency C-section. And she was so frustrated and looked at the midwife and said, is there anything else I can do? Is there anything more? And she said, the next time you get a contraction, you need to do whatever it takes, whatever is the most uncomfortable position you can get into, and lean into that pain and just face it head on. And so she did. The next contraction she had, he said she rolled over on her one side and hunched down and screamed louder than she's ever screamed. And within 20 minutes, I had a baby. It moved that baby, whatever that was that happened. And it was really huge to me because I also, nothing against people that have not done natural birth, but it was really important to me to have natural birth as well. And it was such a great life lesson and business as well. The worst pain I've ever experienced in my life brought me the greatest joy out of my whole life. So to have that, to know that the best things can come from the scariest, hardest times in your life is something I think you can apply in any area of your life. And so I learned such a great valuable lesson after that, and I never even thought about it after I had my own child until I heard this speaker say, lean into the pain, don't be scared of the pain. Pain brings good things sometimes, and being okay with that and getting comfortable with that.
I love that, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I have. Maybe you already said it, but you talked about the farm. I'd like to hear a little about the farm.
Oh, I would love to talk about the farm. So I grew up on a dairy farm. I am a true farm girl at heart. I love it. I still stop at my dad's every day. He lives probably 15 minutes from my husband and I's farm. I grew up on a dairy farm, so we milked about 400 dairy cows and probably had 8 employees, but we raised the calves all the time when they were little. And then we also did crop farming. So as crazy as it sounds, I could drive any semi under the sun, a combine. So I've done it all, and I love it. It's just, if you've grown up on a farm or live in the country, it's just in your blood. You can't get rid of it. And for me, it's a really great balance of all this craziness and getting to like go sit in a field with my husband in the middle of nowhere. It's so cool. So we farm beef cattle. So he finishes out, meaning we raise them from babies for about a year and a half for meat. So we finish them all the way till they're finished, is what they call it. So we have beef cattle, and then we currently have about 150 of those. And he has 80 cows that he calves out. So we just have all these cute little babies on the ground. And they'll actually be going out to pasture this week. He's been working on that while I've been gone. He puts up hay, corn, soybeans. So that's been a struggle for us personally. Just he leads a crazy life as well. You know, he works long hours. The winters are great. He's home by 5 because it's dark. But we've both really been trying to work on a balance of two crazy lifestyles, and I don't have the answer for that yet. We're still working on it.
Are there any employees on the farm?
Not my husband's. No, my dad. So my dad has had employees since I was probably 14, and I thought it was like a big shot and got to help manage them. And now, in retrospect, I was not a manager. I thought I was, because I would like tell them what to do, but I've definitely learned being a good manager means working beside your employees. Actions speak so much louder than words, so to know that you're right there in it with them, and follow-up. I had no idea what follow-up meant. I just thought and I definitely got this from my dad. If you tell someone what to do, they should just do it. Doesn't always happen. There needs to be consistent follow-up of checking in. People need the accountability. So.
And explain what you want done.
Yes. People are not mind readers.
And you let it lead to their judgment on
Yes.
what you would.
I will be forever thankful for growing up on a farm. It has for sure helped me grow this business as quickly and as I have. There's so many life lessons I've learned. Like I fed calves since I was 8 years old by myself. Like it was our job to make sure they don't die. You know, so you learn responsibility at such a young age, and it's something that I'm so thankful that my children will get to experience as well. And it's taught me so much about business and life in general.
Tell us about the children's lines of Charlie Jean.
Yeah, so my daughter's name is Charlie Jean, and about a half a year ago, I decided to come out with the children's line because I couldn't find a ton of cute clothes that I loved that weren't like $60 to $80 for dressing. It was ridiculously expensive. So it's still in the works. I don't have a release date yet. I wish I did. I have several pieces of hers that I've been designing, and I want it to be kind of in between, like nice dresses they can wear for family pictures, Easter, Christmas, whatever, and there'll be like some pant outfits, but that are in that like $20 to $30 price range. That are not super expensive, but not Old Navy either. So I'm excited about that. There's a lot of areas in the next year I really want to grow my company, and I think as you own a company, you have to keep always looking for ways to, where can I expand? Where can I reach more people? What are some ways that once we've got here, what do I want to do after that point? So I have a lot of ideas up my sleeve for the next year. Yes.
Have you met Brandy?
No. You know.
Never mind. You need to meet her. Okay. Make sure you all meet freely. Okay. I haven't had my hookup. I haven't had my whole thing to talk to yet. So.
I was just going to say, you talked a lot yesterday, and you talked some today too about going to conferences. Of course, we had our conference yesterday, and then we have this every Wednesday, and we have another meeting during the week in the mornings. How important do you think it is to attend conferences and put yourself out there for things like that?
It is so important, not only for business growth, but personal growth. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things so over the past 5 years of my life, I've always, I'm just very drawn to like motivational speakers, and I love like Zig Ziglar, like listening to podcasts and stuff. But as I've grown business, I've learned for me to be a better leader and to better myself, it is so important. So like if you've never heard of Andy Stanley, he's a pastor. He's also like one of the best motivational speakers I've ever heard in my life. His free podcast, look him up, he's so great. And there's so many, it's so important for personal growth to attend these things, no matter how busy you think you are. The last conference I went to was all day. It was called LeaderCast. They have it once a year. It's like nationwide. And I was like that. I had to be up by 5 to get everything done and be there. My manager really wanted me to go with her, to be honest. And I was like, I don't have time for this today. I do not want to go. And I was there for an hour, and I was like, I'm so thankful I'm here. Like, it is really important to keep yourself in check and to keep, when you get really down with the grind of things, sometimes you forget to see a bigger picture, and you need people to help motivate you. Peyton Manning was also one of the speakers there, and he said one of the best things, he still has his high school coach him. Like, he's one of the only people in his life that will still tell him like it is, it's not paying him. So on the sense of having mentors, people in your life that are not scared to tell you what they think and why you're doing that. Like, I really do that in my life because I don't know why, but people are intimidated by me, and I need people to push me back, and I need to be held accountable. My husband does that in my personal life, but I need that in my business life. Like, I feel like that's really important, and that includes going to conferences and learning. You just never know who you might meet or how you might grow. I think it's really important. Obviously, you can't live at them, but
Right.
I mean, that's why I love, like, I'm to the point I don't hardly ever listen to the radio anymore. I have podcasts playing, or it's a great 20, 30 minutes of just kind of opening your brain and getting the wheels spinning again. Yes?
No. I don't think you can go out and get cows like maybe some people can, but I have another person, I'm gonna send you her information because I think you'd appreciate it, but she grew up on a dairy farm, and she's very, very successful in another business, to a very, very high level, and she talked about how, you gotta milk the cows no matter what. It's Christmas, too bad, go open your presents now, get out there and milk the cows. It's your grandma died today, go to the funeral home, come back, change your clothes, go milk the cows. No matter what, the cow's gotta be milked. And that kind of gave her discipline, and I was having a hard time remembering that word because I don't have any, but the discipline to do what she had to do in her business and at an early age and to keep going. So I wish there was a way we could manufacture that experience for young people to, here, take some cows. Now you've got to keep them alive and still, it just seems like, if that would, that's a good way to, that's one reason why I think you're very successful, because you, early in life, even though you make jokes about I wasn't a good manager or I was having fun or whatever, that was instilled in you because, you grew up doing hard work. And
yes, I mean, it literally was Christmas. You wouldn't even, we would go down the stairs and not look at the presents because we had to go out and do chores, so we'd get up at 5 in the morning to let's go get them done so we can get in, Christmas presents. So for sure, it's just ingrained in me. I don't even realize sometimes I'm working till 8 o'clock at night. So it's not always a good thing, but it has definitely helped grow my business in the sense of when you're working for yourself, guess who cares about it more than you? No one. It is your responsibility. You want to, I created this beast. So it is my job to feed it. Literally, as cliche as that may sound. It really, if you want it, you have to work for it harder than anyone else.
Well, be tough on Charlie Jean because that's.
Oh, I will.
So my kids are in their 20s now, and they had later in life had some things that rocked their boat, moved their cheese, whatever, they were just, and I thought, oh God, I can't believe I did this to them. I can't believe, but now I see as adults, they do things that have that discipline, and I'm like, wow, that really helped them, that I thought it was horrible when it happened, but now I realize that it was a good thing for them, and I wanted to give them this cushy little perfect life that, maybe I didn't get to have, but I found out that they need some hard stuff. So.
Yeah, and on that note, I feel like that is something that's helped me. If you learn to deal with problems or failure, or I failed so many times, it's how you deal with that. I'm not really great at not failing. I'm just really good at getting back up really fast. If I'm that sucked, that didn't work. Tomorrow, it's done. I can do nothing about it. So what do I do to make sure that doesn't happen again? You have to be okay with. I think that goes with that fear. You can't be afraid of failing because it's gonna happen in life. We're not perfect humans. Nothing in life is perfect. Your business is not gonna be perfect. I've made customers so mad. I've learned lessons the hard way. You have to just be okay at learning from that and just getting back up really fast. And I think the farm really helped me with that too. We learn mistakes. drove a skid loader through a barn and just started really fast. And don't do that again. Dad's gonna be mad. So, but yes, yeah. I jokingly did this summer. I was already like, do you think it's too early to get Charlie calves? And Zach was like, my husband, she can't even walk yet, Laura. She can't feed calves yet. So she will have plenty to do.
Any more questions?
Thank you guys for having me. It's been great to be here.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for coming and celebrating our 1 year anniversary. Laura, thank you for coming. In front of you, everyone has got a 1 Million Cups card. Each of you know someone that is in business that we would like to hear about. There are people in this room, which I'll try not to look at them, that own their own businesses that have not presented yet. And we would like to hear your story. Your story's not going to be like Laura's. Your story's not going to be like Mark's or Carol's. But we would like to hear your story and your journey about your business. On the back of it, you can apply to present. If not, contact Kevin, Carol, Mark, or myself, and we will get you signed up. We've also got extra cards if you want to take one to someone and ask them to present. And here we've got coffee mugs for you to take when you leave. And we'll see you next Wednesday morning here at 7:30.